The countdown to one of the most talked about weddings in Hollywood has become less about flowers, dresses, or locations, and more about the noise surrounding everything that isn't on the official program. What should have been a straightforward fairy tale buildup has turned into a swirl of questions, missing faces in photographs, and headlines that don't seem to let the couple breathe. At the center of it all is Selena Gomez, the global superstar who has lived almost her entire adult life under a microscope, and Benny Blanco, the producer whose fear of airplanes and easygoing approach to life are suddenly being interpreted as either quirks or red flags depending on who you ask. If weddings are supposed to be about clarity and commitment, this one has become a masterclass in ambiguity. When Selena posted her bachelorette trip photos from Cabo San Lucas, it looked like the dream weekend anyone in her position would want. The yacht, the sunlight bouncing off the ocean, the pure energy of a group of friends celebrating love. The pictures screamed confidence and readiness, the kind of curated gallery that tells millions of followers, "I'm happy, I'm surrounded by joy, and I'm heading towards something monumental." Yet, it didn't take long for the comments to turn into theories. One absence in particular ignited the spark. Nicola Peltz wasn't there. Not in the background of a photo, not tagged, not even hinted at. Just silence. And for fans who remember the thruple jokes from 2023 and the constant companionship between Selena, Nicola, and Brooklyn Beckham, silence was enough to start shouting. Was this a falling out? Was the friendship over? Online sleuths began connecting dots that may or may not have existed, pulling in the fact that Selena skipped Nicola and Brooklyn's vow renewal earlier in the year, and that Nicola hadn't liked or commented on Selena's posts. Suddenly, a yacht trip turned into evidence in a supposed feud. Of course, those close to Selena and Nicola pushed back, with sources insisting there was no feud, that schedules clash, and friendships ebb and flow without needing a headline. But the internet doesn't thrive on balance. It thrives on gaps. If a face is missing, people will invent a reason. If a comment isn't posted, they'll assume tension. That's the reality of celebrity friendships in the digital age. Sometimes the loudest statement is the one you don't make. As the rumors about Nicola swirled, another mystery brewed: the wedding venue itself. Reports began to surface that the wedding would happen in Montecito in September, but even those invited wouldn't know the exact address until the last moment. In a world where drones, paparazzi, and live stream leaks are almost impossible to stop, secrecy became the strategy. And yet secrecy carries its own weight. The tighter you pull the curtain, the more people want to peek behind it. Fans speculated, media outlets played guessing games, and suddenly the absence of a location became the story itself. Imagine being a guest at the wedding of one of the world's biggest stars and not even knowing where to show up until the day of. It's both brilliant and unnerving. That's the paradox. Protect the day, but fuel the rumor mill at the same time. Meanwhile, comparisons between Selena's glamorous Cabo bachelorette and Benny's bachelor trip couldn't have been starker. While she danced on a yacht under the sun, he reportedly drove to Las Vegas because flying was off the table, and ended up with what sounded like a far less dazzling celebration. Some online narratives exaggerated, claiming he spent the time in a sauna with 24 guys, others painting the event as painfully ordinary compared to hers. The contrast quickly turned into content. She's living the high life, he's doing the bare minimum. In celebrity culture, optics can become reality, and suddenly Benny wasn't just the fiancé. He was the man accused of not matching her energy. That idea tied neatly into another recurring theme: Benny's fear of flying. Multiple reports have highlighted how he avoids airplanes, choosing long drives or boat rides instead. For an average couple, that might be a quirky inconvenience. For Selena Gomez, a global pop star who lives on airplanes for tours, events, and appearances, it raises real questions. How do you build a life together when one half of the couple avoids the very thing that defines the other's career? Is it a lifestyle clash waiting to happen, or just a hurdle they'll find a way around? Fans debated endlessly, with some calling it a deal breaker, and others brushing it off as a minor eccentricity. What was clear is that every little personal detail had become public property. But even as whispers about Nicola and Benny dominated, another story barged in from an entirely different angle. Selena's mother, Mandy Teefy, and the company they co-founded, Wondermind. Launched with the goal of making mental health conversations mainstream, Wondermind had been positioned as a passion project. Yet in early September, The Cut published a damaging report alleging financial chaos behind the scenes. Missed paychecks, layoffs that gutted most of the staff, and, most explosively, claims from former employees that Mandy was behaving erratically at work. She strongly denied the most scandalous allegations, but the damage was already done. The timing couldn't have been worse. What should have been a period of lighthearted countdown to a wedding was now colliding with headlines about chaos and controversy in the family's business world. For fans and critics alike, it blurred lines. Could Selena truly separate her public joy from her family's public struggles? Was the chaos in Wondermind just an unfortunate backdrop, or a shadow creeping onto her wedding narrative? The scandal fed a sense that too many things were unraveling at once. Rumors, feuds, criticisms of Benny's energy, questions about his fear of flying, and now a foundation under fire. Even the lighthearted detail of Selena's potential name change became part of the storm. Online chatter distorted Benny's surname into Levin, sparking jokes and confusion. In reality, his legal last name is Levin. If Selena chose to take his name, she'd become Selena Levin, a transformation that felt surreal given how iconic Selena Gomez has become as a global brand. Just the possibility of a name change, something countless newlyweds consider, was suddenly amplified into a fandom-splitting debate. Would she really trade the name recognized worldwide for one that blends into the crowd? Fans obsessed over the implications, showing just how little room she has to make even ordinary choices without the world weighing in. Then came the guest list. Reports suggested everyone from Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce to Brooklyn and Nicola Beckham might attend, along with Selena's Only Murders in the Building castmates. Some speculated about Justin Bieber or even Beyoncé, though those names seemed more like fantasy casting than reality. The bigger point was clear, this wouldn't just be a wedding, it would be a cultural spectacle. And with the venue still secret, the secrecy itself became another storyline. How would A-listers navigate an event where they didn't know the location until hours before? How long before a drone found the driveway? Even the act of trying to preserve intimacy turned into a public guessing game. All of this made the simplest critiques about Benny hit harder. Friends allegedly whispered about him being lazy, about leaving most of the wedding planning to Selena, about shrugging his shoulders and saying things like, "Baby, do whatever you want." On one hand, that sounds supportive. He's letting her create her dream day. On the other, it looks like avoidance, like letting her shoulder the stress while he coasts. For people already inclined to doubt him, it fit the narrative too well. The fear of flying, the low-key bachelor party, the reputation for questionable hygiene that critics love to bring up. It all added to the idea that Benny wasn't pulling his weight. And for Selena, who has always had a tendency to second-guess details and get stuck on decisions, his lack of input may have been more frustrating than freeing. A wedding isn't just about the dress or the flowers, it's about two people proving they can plan a future together. If one person is constantly making the choices while the other sits back, what does that say about the years ahead? At the same time, it's too easy to flatten everything into stereotypes. Lazy versus hardworking. Glamorous versus plain. Indecisive versus checked out. The truth is probably messier. Planning a wedding under the glare of global media is nothing like planning a wedding in private. Every choice is magnified, every compromise twisted into a flaw. Downsizing the wedding from 3 days to 2 could easily be framed as practical, realistic, and mature. Instead, it was spun as evidence of disorganization and last-minute scrambling. That's how perception works in celebrity culture. The exact same decision can be interpreted as either wise or disastrous, depending on the narrative you want to push. The podcast appearance Selena didn't help clarify matters. She spoke about being happy, being excited, but also about the many projects both she and Benny were juggling. She stumbled, hesitated, admitted she didn't want to jinx anything. For fans listening closely, it was a reminder that even in joy there's uncertainty. To some, she sounded like a woman deeply in love but overwhelmed. To others, she sounded like someone trying to convince herself that everything was fine. Words meant to reassure instead added to the sense of unease. And then came the oddest twist, the puppy. A simple TikTok of Selena with their new dog became fodder for criticism. Commenters accused her of ignoring the pup, mocked her appearance, even joked that the dog looked like Benny. What should have been an innocent, heartwarming clip turned into another round of online shade. People dredged up old accusations about celebrities rehoming pets like accessories. They speculated that this was a test run before children. It was absurd, but it showed how even the most benign moment in her life is subject to dissection. No matter what she does, someone will find a way to criticize it. All of this built toward the larger picture. What was supposed to be Selena's fairy tale moment is being overshadowed by every possible distraction. The Nicola Peltz rumors, Benny's fear of flying, the Wondermind scandal, questions about his effort, even a puppy video. It's like the universe decided that instead of letting her enjoy the countdown, it would throw every curveball at once. And yet, that's also what makes the story so captivating. It's not a straightforward romance. It's a love story being told in fragments with the audience piecing it together through posts, leaks, and gossip. For fans, the question isn't just whether the wedding will happen, it's how the couple will navigate all this noise. Will Selena and Benny be able to carve out a private moment in the middle of a circus? Or will the circus define the moment? Love can survive whispers and criticism. But love can also be eroded when every small flaw is magnified into a public scandal. The downsized wedding, the secrecy, the denials, the constant speculation. It's all building toward a day that will either prove the doubters wrong or give them endless material to say they were right all along. And that may be the cruelest part of all. Weddings are supposed to be about two people committing to each other, not about everyone else assigning meaning to every missing face or awkward podcast answer. But when you're Selena Gomez, nothing is just yours. Every choice is a headline, every silence a rumor, every absence a narrative. That's the price of fame. And the question hanging over this wedding is whether love can rise above that price tag. The venue will eventually be revealed, the vows will be said, and the pictures will be posted. But whether people see love or laziness, fairy tale or fiasco, is something no couple can truly control. For now, all we can do is watch the pieces fall into place. The yacht in Cabo, the Vegas trip, the whispers about Nicola, the secrecy of Montecito, the Wondermind chaos, the puppy cameo, the name change jokes. It's all part of the same puzzle, and the final picture won't be clear until the day itself. Maybe then, when the music plays and the cameras flash, we'll know if this was a love story that weathered the storm, or a storm that rewrote the love story entirely.